So I'm going to talk about value mappings just before some background on on this feature. It's very, kind of has a long history dating back to the stat panel, I think, where this was introduced, mainly to kind of initially I think it was only used for like mapping numbers to texts. So if you want to, so if you had yeah, let's switch this to us. So if you have something like this, take numeric fields. Oh, I have this on. Move this. So if you want to zero, for example, to be displayed as so zero should be displayed as down or some text value. So that was kind of, I think, the start of this this feature to be able to map numerical values to a display text value. Same thing with like a range, to be able to say like, oh, if a value is in a specific range, I want to show this text instead. It has had one more use, I think, in actually going the other way. So a big problem in Grafana is that if you have text values like this column here that says up, down, you haven't been able to color this value in any kind of easy way. So the thing, there has been like a workaround where you can use value mappings and say, okay, I want to map up to a numerical value like 1, and then then Grafana will process that 1 as a threshold using the threshold coloring. So that's how, but then you're forced to display this new numerical value instead of the text value. So we have some new panels. So this is a kind of existing problem that you cannot color text values, which is would be great to be able to do that for the table panel, the stat panel. And one more use case for the value mapping has been to specify how a missing value, a null value, should be displayed as. So if and that has been done by like a magic string. You just type in null in the value field, and then you maybe should want this to be displayed as missing. So this is like a kind of a magic thing you have to know, that you can tell Grafana how to display missing values using this mapping type, or using this mapping text. Let's see. So yeah, back to being able to color string values to colors. So we have new panels coming up in the timeline panel. The timeline panel really is about kind of showing both the kind of numerical states over time, but mainly kind of Boolean states, true, false over time, or text strings. So many kind of industrial sensors and other systems have like these text values that represent state. So up, down, low, high, critical. And we want to be able to kind of graph that text state over time. And we want to assign colors to those text states. This UI has been sort of the current value mapping UI has been a bit clunky because it takes up a lot of space for each value mapping. And in these use cases that we see where they want to map these text states to strings, they can be up to 20 or something. So that this UI is really clunky to represent 20 text to color mappings. And these other string mappings as well. So yeah, we struggled a lot with like exploring UI that will fit in this narrow sidebar pane that will allow us to both like have these range mappings, value mappings, and add a color options as well, and make it possible to drag and move this around. Order can be important. So the solution that that I kind of ended up in is that we should have like a view only mode, or at least sort of a mode that only allows you to maybe change a few things, that represents the mappings in a very condensed way. So here you can see that I'm mapping numerical values to text mappings and a color. I'm also mapping this null value to a text string mapping, and I can see 2 range mappings here as well, but I cannot edit here. These are, I can change the color. So the color is actually something I can change from this view mode. Then by hitting the button there, I can open a modal with the full edit experience. And here I have, first is a type, the type of kind of mapping. There are 3 types right now. Value mappings that can map a value or a numerical value or a text value to another text value and a color. The color is optional, so that's why you can sort of remove the color or set the color. And that's why that's kind of important, because here you can actually assign, you can change the display value of a numerical value. So you can change one should be displayed as up, but still have it be processed by the threshold numerical kind of threshold color rules. So that's why the color is optional. Sort of the same thing. The text is also optional, because you can maybe only want to map. Let's see. I have another here. You might only want to map text values to colors. So you might want to say up should keep its color. I don't want to change I don't want to change the text. I just want to set the color. And same thing here. I want to map down to a color. I don't want to change it, but you can. Anyway, you can rearrange things here. Just to keep things organized. They have a slight impact. The ordering slide has an impact. If you kind of place a range first, it will be kind of looked at first, evaluated first, and the first thing that matches will be the one that kind of is mapped. So the order does matter. The other thing here is the new kind of special type. And instead of having these magic strings for representing null values, we have the special type where you can match on null values, not the number value, which is a special value that kind of results after numerical expression has failed to reduce a sensible result. So it has a limited use. You can also here match on true and false values, which is also new, which some databases have really kind of not string values, true or false, but really kind of logical values, true or false. So you can have these be non kind of magic strings, but really a special condition here. So that is basically it. And then an update button to trigger the update. I have, I think, just fix the bug with the, so if I do up here, it should the text should remain. Maybe not. So any feedback on the one thing that I see that could potentially be changed here is that we can change these buttons to just one button and have the type be a drop down. Is a possible kind of change that I didn't think about until prepping for this.
Well, I really love the changes, but NAN is really unintuitive to me. Maybe since we've got the room, we could write it out.
There is a description here.
So, yeah, eventually, but in the first one, like I say, NAN is just not intuitive. We've got the space, so instead of shortening it, just write out, or maybe say non-number.
So. But that's the actual value that the data source gives you. So people recognize that now, like that exact sequence of letters.
Yeah.
But only some do, right? So maybe that's what makes that confusing.
Yeah.
I have an important question. Does the display text support emojis?
Yeah, it should. So. No, I mean, everything in the display names there supports emojis. So yay.
Hey,
Which
great.
is really nice. I mean, this is something you've been able to do. So if I'm in the start panel.
Yeah, that would be great. It's interesting to see how users are gonna use that, if they're actually gonna start using that. Because if they do that, it might mean we have to introduce maybe icons or something they can use. What I was thinking there is maybe an easy way I can click on like type to organize it, for example, alphabetically, the entire row. So I don't have to drag it myself alphabetically.
Yeah, we could have a sort, I guess, on the columns.
Yeah, something to like sort it. And then what if I have a different graphs and I want to reuse this, I have to pretty much retype the whole thing again at this point.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Sort of same thing with everything in Grafana. I mean, you could use the JSON kind of model here and copy that. So it's a very manual process. But yeah, it's an interesting.
Maybe the use case where so if I understand correctly, if I leave the display text empty, then the value will still be the original value, right? But I can apply a color to it. That one is maybe a little bit unclear. Like maybe the placeholder text, when so the use case that we clear the text field, that means that use the default value is maybe the display text placeholder there should be adjusted. Maybe I don't know. Just feels a little bit.
No, I agree. I think or could have like some tooltips on these and maybe say optional. If you leave display text and color empty, it's sort of pointless. But at least color or display text is like.
Is this going to be ready for 8.0 beta 1?
Yes, this is in master.
Excellent.
But any tweaks and polish can be is nice to get in before stable.
Maybe it's just me, but the match label at the top, I would expect that to say value.
Yeah, but we have this range. I was thinking condition as well, but that doesn't. Condition is a bit harder maybe to just when it's just a single value. Condition makes sense for the range maybe.
Or maybe value to match, because yes, yeah. I agree that value is too vague, because you should say like, okay, what type of so I'm trying to use normal words to define what we get. Your first is the type of translation. The second column is what you want to match or what you want to change. The third is what you want to change it to. So if I was going to explain this to someone, I would say, okay, when the data source sends a null value, I want it is a special type of value mapping and should display the text. So the type refers to what is being matched, right? You're saying what kind of value you're matching?
Yeah, this is
Okay.
I found the condition pretty good. Like it almost feels like I can write a piece of math, and then it will just give me whatever. I found it pretty good.
I think also like the word match is quite good for the range type, but not that good for the value type, like I would almost go with something like before, after, or original and transformed. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, I wonder if that first column is almost unnecessary, because we want to how can we make this simpler? When the data source sends this, change it to this text and or this color. And by the way, is this replacing thresholds? Because it seems kind of like this makes thresholds unnecessary.
No, but it's very in a ideal world, this would be sort of merged with thresholds, but the problem is that the threshold, it would complicate thresholds a lot. Thresholds are like simple right now with no conditions on greater or less than. They're just numerical sort of conditions. But these are primarily just for setting color, because the thresholds only operate on numerical values, and this is going to be mainly for text value, coloring text, or assigning text values for numerical values.
If you almost lean on what Diana says, you can almost write it as like an if statement. If value equals display is something like that.
I was thinking, we could make it more like a natural language, like for value up and display. Guess
it's hard. I mean, it looks like it could be written as a sentence, but like the second
take
part,
a lot
that
more,
there are two things.
It's going to take up a lot more horizontal space then, but
it could perhaps even be the labels at the top. If is, therefore, I don't know.
maybe so, yeah, maybe just for value or something instead of display as with color or something. For value up, this display as with color. No.
Also, I think it's a little bit like for like maybe like a programmer's intuitive maybe, but like the idea that the value and the special are two different things, I would be willing to bet that some people will write null into the value field and then be confused that it doesn't work. I don't offer any kind of solution there. I don't know. It's just.
Yeah.
Still, I think it's a neat tool. Like it will be understood after a little bit of trial and error for sure. So it's definitely useful.
And then another thing that we have a pair up right now as well, that sort of for Boolean values, Grafana will have a built-in like default mappings. So even if you won't have to specify like true should be green and false should be red. So this will like work out of the box.
So what are the possible values for special? I see true, false, and null so far.
Yeah, null,
okay, so we've got the
number,
drop down.
and then there's null plus not a number, which is like capturing everything that might be like a wrong or missing, can't display kind of thing. And then there's true, false, empty.
I wonder if instead of special, that should be not number or not value. Or, so anyway, just spitballing here.
That doesn't work for true, false.
Okay.
Or
but yeah, if I didn't say it before, really cool. It's going to be fun to write the documentation for this and test it out.
Yeah. I think it's really, and really useful for so many panels, like not just these new panels, but yeah, it's that pan to be able to just more easily color string values is really powerful. Thanks. I'll think about some if I can. Yeah, this match can be improved. But what about the sort of having 3 separate buttons versus 1, and having like a drop down for type on each row in a
right now they are not clickable, right? Especially if you click on it, nothing happens, right?
Yeah.
It feels really like I would expect that it does that drop down thingy. I think it's that how I would interact with it.
Yeah, I agree.
In an ideal world, I would have like this.
At least I know.
In an ideal world, I would probably make this a button that has like a drop down to it, where you select which type you want to add, but you don't have that component.
Yeah, when I see that, I want to enter. When I see this kind of input, I want to enter a statement, kind of like we do for the old alerts, like when, you know, like when it's this value, show me change it to this. So yeah, if you could make it more like natural language, I think that would help the beginners like me. I mean, people who are admins and folks who've been doing this forever like you are going to have no problem with it, but we also are getting a lot of noobs, especially in cloud, it sounds like. So we want to make sure that they can, you know, change the colors of their stuff easily. So.
Yeah.
And maybe I would write out the whole like value mapping, range mapping, and special value mapping, because map sounds a little bit to me, you know, like I'm inserting one more whole box of these thingies, but I don't know, maybe they're just me.
Yeah. Yes. With three of these becomes really the whole button row becomes, or whole button here becomes about 3 long buttons.
It's really very long. Yeah, that's true.
Thanks. I think that was useful. Looks like everyone's left. Bye.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye.